Hey everybody, let's go back in time to September or November of 1995. I'm not really sure because I have conflicting dates on here. I have one that says, can't really see it. There we go. September 10th, 1995. Another one that says 11/07, 1995. And I think this one just doesn't say anything. So I'm assuming it's also November. So, a young 25-year-old me with not so much gray hair started recording. Well, didn't start recording, but actually recorded a song for somebody else, a friend. His band, called Killer Instinct at that time, changed later to Minstrel. If you've seen my Fender, my 80s Fender, it has a sticker underneath the strings and it says now it says Instra Cycle. They used to call themselves Minstrel Cycle. Not getting into it right now. And we recorded, this would be one of the first recordings that I ever did. Like fully, just me with other people, of course, because I was young, I was dumb, I was trying, which we all should do and we all have to go through. And so my friend, I had the 4-track. I didn't have that long, and he's like, "Hey, can we record our band?" And I'm like, "Sure. Let's do that." And the band was made up of just first names only: Steve, Christina, Ed, and Mark. Steve was vocals, rhythm/lead. Christina was lead/rhythm. So if you're trying to figure that out, Christina played lead more than rhythm. Ed was bass, and Mark was drums. Now, before we went to the recording studio, I did a floor recording for them, which I have, and I have this whole thing full of cassettes. As you can see, there's 36 in here, but there's actually more because I shoved some in the bottom here. And so we went in and recorded, or I listened to them, and I will be honest with you, the first time that I ever listened to them play, they gave me a wicked headache. I had to go home and lie down. I'm not kidding you. It was that bad. And so he told me to be straight with them. I was straight with them. They cleaned themselves up quite well. Mark's drumming wasn't the greatest at that time. He was still quite new to it. So when we did the actual recording, it's my friend Paul, who played on the Hall of Spirit stuff, the one that everybody asked, "Is that a real drummer?" And I said, "Yes, that's Paul." So Paul ended up doing the recordings. We only finished one song. I'll explain why later. The song was finished. This song was pressed through faster because they wanted to use it for a video, because Ed was taking radio and communications course or like something in college, and so he had, for his final project, he had to do a video of something. So he decided to do a video of one of their songs. So we rushed this song through. So the song is called Alone. I'm going to play it for you. This whole COVID thing, staying at home, I ended up doing something I wanted to do anyways, which was start to transfer what I have on my 4-track to my DP32. Not because I intend to release it or anything like that. It's more so that if anything happens to my 4-track, I don't have to. I have copies. I have this like, most of the cassettes now have been transferred from the cassette to the system. I still have a few more to do, but that's another story. Yeah, so that I need to borrow somebody's cassette 8-track at some point as well to finish 2 of them. I know a guy. I'm gonna get it from him. That was aside. Sorry about that. And so, yeah, so I went through all the Killer Instinct stuff. As you can see, I don't know, it says 4-track cassette, KI, Killer Instinct. That was what they were called when we started all this. So let's give it a listen. Okay, I've done a little fiddling, so I'm gonna go switch over to here. So the original stuff is on tracks 1, 2, 3, and 4. Makes sense. First thing I'll show you is we'll play a little bit. Let's start. Let's see, start there. Here we go. Okay, the first thing you're going to notice, track 4 is really loud compared to track 3. I'm going to stop there for a second. So what I ended up doing, this is just because I feel like telling you. What I ended up doing is tracks 3 and 4 have been moved to 31, 32. I bounced it over there. Whoops, I just played with that. Let's put it back where it is, where I want it roughly. I don't really care, but it's fine. I bounced it to 31, 32, and what I did was I tried to level it. So as you can see, they are much more level than they are. So that was Christina started the solo. This is Steve. As you can see, they're not gelling everywhere. Okay, so now we brought the bass in. Now I moved the bass from track 2 to track 8, and the reason I did that is because I wanted to boost up the vocals, which were on track 1, and I will show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solo the bass for a sec. So let's just go back. Oops. Now the bass has effects on it, so if we go to the mixer, you can see it's very blurry. I'll try to get a little closer in on here for you guys. So yeah, it's always never works right. So you can see it has the effects on. So if I turn them off, bass is very quiet. So what I did for effects is what I normally do when I do this stuff. I gave it a nice amp. I gave it the 412B. I don't know what that means. If that means the second speaker or whatever. A little bit of reverb, some tone, masters on half, little gain. Just give it a little crunch, you know. And then I went into. Oh no, I turned the effects off. I originally tried it with chorus. I guess I decided against it. So let's play it, and so let's go back. Oops, I'll play.
My disarray increases. Tell me now how just the cause.
Okay, so Steve acknowledges that his vocals are not the greatest. So I'm going to go back a bit here, and we'll solo the vocals.
Not the way I thought it was. My disarray increases. Tell me now how just the cause.
So I have to take some responsibility for the vocals on this. I don't think Steve ever found his voice during these recordings. I'll be honest with you. And I don't think he really had the voice that would work for it. So he I told him to try to growl. And that's what he did. Now, if I play the original vocals,
Reaching deep down in the
you
mud,
can hear that
my
they're really
rifle
quiet.
feels so grand. Eyes are stinging from the smoke as acided as the land.
Now, granted, yeah, I added some other stuff to make it, just to bring it out a bit more. And so let's play it again. Solo here.
Sliding back the vault with these chamber holes around. I still can't think of why it is my ears, they hear no sound.
Yeah, so you will hear me in this now too.
Grenading loose sway on my belt, shudder once inside. My dearest friend lies next to me. Thank goodness he has died. Through blackened
Yes. That's Steve and me, and I'm doing the lower register because Steve didn't have it.
smoke-stained cheeks, a tear as trickless day. To trace the path near holes of death. What else I cannot say.
Now, I gave this to my friend Dean, who is on the Hall of Spirit, or he's on the MPF Project. He played guitar on there, and he was saying, he says, for 25 years, because it's been 25 years, hard to believe, but yeah. And he says, it sounds, he says, there's some things with it that aren't great, but it sounds decent. And I'm like, yeah. I said, it's definitely one of my first attempts. It is the only song that ever got finished. So let me give you a little history on Steve, on the whole Killer Instinct thing. So, and now this is going back 25 years. Let me just pull out all the Killer Instinct stuff. Okay. All right. So, this, which you can't read, I don't know if you can read it still. It says, it is Killer Instinct floor recording. Oops. There you go. So there's 12 songs on here. This was done on a Trainer YVM 10 and a standard cassette deck. Just 2 tracks live. So 10 channels mixed down into a mono channel, because that's all the YVM had, it was mono. Even though it had two stereo outputs, it was still mono. Or it had 2 outputs that were mono. And that was not my first attempt, but it was one of them. This is one of the ones that that's one of the ones that was when I did where I did all the mixing and that, and I was behind the board the entire time, because every other time I was recording myself, Dean, and Paul, and we were doing it, and Chris when he was part of the band, and other Paul when he was part of the band. And so that was what we did. We ended up that we would, my parents would go away. Yes, I was still living at home at this time, and we would convert the living room, bathroom, and dining room into a giant studio. It would just be all of us, and we would record. And I think I have released that stuff. That stuff's on SoundCloud. I'll put a link below if you want to listen to it, if you're interested. And then we have this. This is 96. This is 2. I'm going to have to listen to this one. This one I have not transferred yet. These 2 are live recordings, 4-track recordings, live in Beamsville. at the Lincoln County Fairgrounds, which doesn't exist anymore. It's now houses. At the Grandstand Hall, and we rented it out. So that's 2. So I have the 1, the floor recording, the live. Live you don't have to count if you don't want to. I then have the one that we were just listening to, this alone, which is 3 cassettes right here. And then I have the second attempt, which is these here. Now, all right, so what Steve, like I said, Steve was never happy with his vocals, but he would always say that it was the recording's fault. So what he would do is we would record, I'd get everything else done or somewhat done, and then Steve would come in and do his vocals. He'd hate his vocals and then say, you know what, let's just start all over again. So hence, first try, second try. This is more songs, by the way. But second try, and it would have been a third try, except that I got married, so I had nowhere to go with my stuff, and my music career kind of fizzled out for a while after that. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. But I think what you guys should do is you should go and, if you have any old cassettes, give them a listen, because like I was shocked to find on the one I found 2 clean drum tracks, which I'm going to now use to finish those songs, because I might as well. I have the drums for it. I was going to do that anyways, and now I don't have to learn. I don't have to learn the drums. They're on there. So yeah, that's today's video. So my words to you are, if you know, go through your old stuff, see what you got, share it. I can't share this because it's not mine, but it is kind of funny that I found this and I was like, oh, well, that's really cool. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, except I want to play one more part for you.
This train, the bullet swiftly travels, leaving gore instead of brains.
Yeah,
Creeping, crossing the battlefield, a specter surely roams. Turning, pointing, laughing, he knows I am alone.
yes, me. I laugh every time I hear that. Okay, now I'm done. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.